going to have a panel time. Stephen, if you want to come on up.
Oh, this fellow has a question.
Two terrific presentations. I have a question for both of you, but I'll just confine it for the moment to David and let other people have an opportunity to ask a question. And if there's time, I might ask Steve his. 4 to 5 years ago, I discovered about small modular reactors, particularly videos by Michael Schellenberger. I didn't need any convincing after listening to that, but I listened to a lot of other speakers. I'm not sure it was Michael Schellenberger, who's an American environmentalist.
Could we move to the question, please?
Yes, I'm going to. But that's just necessary background. But the point that he made was, no, I just want your comment on this, that it's a no-brainer, as you've said, but he made the point that the resistance is the politicians. It's a political problem to do the development in Australia, but he was talking about the world generally. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, we are pretty much unique in Australia. In terms of a nuclear conversation, there's a lot of emotional attachment and echo chamber reinforcement with our current government, who seriously, they think they're saving Australia and the world, but we're destroying Australia and we're not saving the world, because they're married to this idea that renewables is the only clean solution. I've tried the rational approach. I've had meetings with several of the senior ministers, and Chris Bowen said, I'm not for changing. But he's gung-ho for it. The thing with politicians in this country, they are unique. In America, it's bipartisan now. Okay? They've realised they need energy sovereignty. They've worked out that nuclear is clean. We didn't go into the economics of it, but one of those, we've looked at what it costs in Australia. It's a fraction of what the Gen Cost report says. It is, if you've got capable builders, you've got a mature design, you've got a supply chain in place, they're the same as a coal plant, okay? Because they look just like a coal plant, except the fuel is the rods, the high-tech bit. So, look, there's cognitive dissonance. They're reacting with anger because they've hitched their barrow and their star to this renewables rollout. But the main thing is, energy systems, as I said, used to be run by state electricity commissions who had all highly trained electrical power grid engineers running it, designing it, maintaining it, and there were technocrats that understood all this. Whereas now, bureaucrats and policy people decide on energy. Like, seriously, there's a lot of bullshit baffling a lot of really smart people who've swallowed the lemonade and they think it's all going to work, but it's not. And it's going up and up in price because of all those things that I've mentioned. Transmission lines cost double what they always estimate. Snowy hydro is 6 times what they estimate. No one wants power lines, no one wants wind farms next to them, except occasional owners who don't realise they'll be liable for it. But seriously, I despair about what we are in Australia. In the UK, the Labor Party used to joke about the Conservatives thinking that the country's going to run on windmills. That's the Labor Party. Whereas over here, they still think the place will run on batteries, and it's just delusional. And they should know better. But they're just linked to it. In America, the Democrats were against it, but they've realised, hey, all these things we got told about 3 Mile Island and or Fukushima, it's all fear-mongering. If you're doing it well, it's pretty darn safe. It's the safest form. So I don't know, maybe it's just going to take a disaster or a change of government for the government here to remove the prohibitions.
Let's go to the next question. We'll try and keep it.
Dudley Horscroft. Questions to David. You mentioned Australia has 3 nuclear reactors. Well, we know of the one at Anstow. Have they got more? Secondly, I checked up in Google a few years ago, and ANSTO was working on their fifth nuclear reactor, presumably upgrading them from time to time, but they let out the slip of information that the third one, I think, had been used as a power reactor,
No,
which
that's
is
not right.
strictly forbidden under Australian law. But that was what ANSTO said. Now, you showed on one of your slides towards the end submarine. Now, submarines have beautiful small nuclear reactors which fitted nicely into a very small space, and they are surrounded by about 140 United States seamen. That's very good, very good info that they are very safe indeed. Finally, would you comment on all of these and explain really why it is necessary to get rid of coal-fired plants, because coal-fired plants produce carbon dioxide, which is used by plants to grow?
Yep. Look, start at the top. ANSTO's never had a power reactor. They had a HIFAR reactor, which was a neutron research reactor. Technically, if you wanted to close it in, it could produce about 10 megawatts of power, but they never have. The first reactor, there was a little tiny training reactor, and they were the three reactors